Hello everyone, my name is Lacy Schirmacher and this is my presentation on the poem The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock by T.S. Eliot. This is some basic information just setting up the story of the poem, what's going on, what's happening. So obviously I'm doing The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, which was written by T.S. Eliot in 1915. It's a poem, but it's like a narrative poem that tells a type of story. And it was actually Eliot's first poetic work that he wrote. And the basic premise is that there's a guy named J. Alfred Prufrock, and he's going to a party and ends up at the party, but he spends the entire time worrying and just being afraid to do anything, overthinking everything, and he spends the entire party this way. Let's start with a bit of information about T.S. Eliot. He was born in St. Louis, Missouri in 1888. Went to several schools that you can see on your screen, including Harvard, which he graduated from in 1906 with a bachelor's degree in the arts. And apparently he had several professors that really influenced him in the areas of poetry, philosophy, and literary criticism. He eventually also studied philosophy in France and Sorbonne. And that is a picture of T.S. Eliot right there. Eventually he returned to Harvard, did some more studying, and he actually met a poet named Ezra Pound that he had a lifelong friendship with, who really influenced a lot of his work. And he wrote then in 1915, he wrote The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, which was his first poetry work that was soon followed by The Wasteland, another one of his famous works. He worked for a while at a bank house, and then ended up working at a publishing house where he worked for many, many years afterwards, trying to foster new poets, up-and-coming poets, to get their work out there and become better writers. He won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1948, and then eventually died in 1965. I saw several articles that said that Eliot used a lot of personas in his work. He didn't write as himself a lot of the time, so people who knew him personally know what he was like, but you can't really tell from his literature. And he has several works that are kept at record at Harvard University and in the Library of Congress. Here are some of his other works, mostly poetry with a little bit of prose, including Wasteland, The Hollow Men, Journey of the Magi, Sweeney Among the Nightingales, and Fragment of an Angon. Now I wanted to talk about some context for the poem, what was going on at the time this poem was written. That was 1915, and there was several battles of the First World War going on at this time, and it was when poison gas was first used in warfare. So it was written with this context in mind, which could possibly have influenced the poem a great deal. Now we get into the story of the poem. Basically, Prufrock goes to a party. He spends the whole time worried, afraid, just overanalyzing everything he does. He won't talk to anyone, he won't do anything. And in the end, he says that he feels like he's drowning in the universe, like he feels like everything is just too much for him. And to look in more of what this means, I have a section of the poem here, and indeed there will be time to wonder, do I dare, and do I dare? Time to turn back and send the stare with a bald spot in the middle of my hair. They will say how his hair is growing thin, my morning coat, my collar mounting firmly to the chin, my necktie rich and modest, but assured by simple pin. They will say, but how his arms and legs are thin. Do I dare disturb the universe? In a minute there is time for decisions and revisions, which a minute will reverse. This is him talking about that line, do I dare disturb the universe? Like, do I dare to try something? Do I dare to go out there and try to meet new people? He's too scared to do everything, even, as I say here, even eat a peach. He says, yeah, I part my hair behind, do I dare to eat a peach? He's too scared to even eat anything. He spends the whole party this way, just afraid, wondering, worrying that he's wasting his life, but at the same time, too afraid to do anything. We have the theme of hesitation. Just feels like he's wasting his time, just wasting his time thinking about everything and worrying about everything. Now we'll get into the meaning for the reader. It's basically telling the reader, don't worry so much, don't be afraid, just you have to go out there and try new things, unlike Prufrock. You have to take risks and not just spend your life worrying. Now, how his work is spread. It was actually referenced in several ways. As you can see here on the screen, it was actually turned into a comic book. Somebody made a comic book out of the love song J. Alfred Prufrock. There's a record of this poem kept at Harvard University. Several films have referenced it. Apocalypse Now, I've heard mermaids singing. Midnight in Paris, It Follows. Music also made reference to it. Especially the line, I can measure my life out in coffee spoons. That line has been used several times. It's a very famous line from this poem. Then in literature, actually some fairly notable works like The Fault in Our Stars and Under the Dome, which are very popular in modern day, have made references to this poem as well. Now I have my work cited here, and that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this presentation. Have a good day.